What's your name, kid?
Max.
Max. Hey, Max. Fist bump. I am Dr. Dexter Blaine. But you can call me Dr. Blaine, okay?
They were never supposed to meet. 7 years ago, Blaine's mother tried to kill me and Max.
Run away and never return. My son will never know about this child of yours, you hear me?
That night, I died. Or at least, a part of me did. But that was only the beginning of a love story I never thought I'd live to tell. Because I wasn't the only one who survived. Thankfully, Max survived.
Hey, Mom.
But shortly after his birth, Max was diagnosed with leukemia. He'd been in and out of hospitals ever since.
Hey, sweetie. We brought you both dinner.
Oh, thanks, Mom. Thanks.
How's Max?
Yeah, he's good. Just sleeping. Needs to rest.
What's wrong?
He just keeps asking if he's ever gonna have a dad.
Why don't you just tell the real father to show up?
When he's cured, I'll have more time and...
Zoe could never forget that face. It was Blaine Dexter, the father of Max. And somehow, he was now working in the same hospital where her son was being treated.
Hey, I really appreciate you two for visiting. I'm just feeling so tired. Can we go?
Sure. Let's go.
Zoe couldn't believe that out of all the hospitals in the city, this is the one Blaine worked at. She knew she had to protect herself and Max. It was for Max's own good. But how long could she avoid Blaine before he finds her out?
Hello?
Zoe, I am emailing you right now a proposal for a new client. Big budget, big everything. Think you can handle it?
Me? Seriously?
Seriously. He wants to meet tonight at 6 p.m. at Waterford International's restaurant.
Yeah, I'll be there.
You guys.
Reservation under the name Fuller?
Neither could deny it. The chemistry between them was electric.
Talent Interiors, this is Zoe speaking.
Are you joining me for dinner or not?
You are my new client?
And you are my new interior designer.
I can call my boss and have him put somebody else on the project, given our history.
Why didn't you ever call, Zoe?
Excuse me?
Why did you leave? So suddenly, I had no idea where you went.
How could she tell him the truth? What his own mother had done to her. She had to protect herself and Max. She couldn't get wrapped up in the Dexters again.
I'm so sorry. Hello. Yes, of course. Have her prepped for surgery. I'll be right there.
Is everything okay?
It will be. I guess we'll have to continue this conversation farther at another time.
As Zoe watched Blaine leave, she wished she could have explained everything to him in that moment. But she couldn't put Max at risk. Besides, Patience needed his healing hands. She remembered when they healed her from her own terrible accident all those years ago.
Oh, I'm not...
I'm sorry. I can come back.
It's okay. I'm kind of struggling with these,
You mind if I help? What's your name?
Zoe?
Hi, Zoe. Dr. Dexter. You can call me Blaine.
Will you be my doctor?
Yeah. You don't like me?
No, it's not that. I don't want to take you away from other patients that might need you more than me.
Well, something tells me that you need mine.
Little did he know, this same man would get me pregnant only 10 months later.
I'm sorry. I was just playing and my ball got away. Are you a doctor?
I am.
You look strong. Like a superhero.
What's your name, kid?
I'm Max. What's your name?
I'm Dr. Blaine Dexter. You can call me Dr. Blaine.
Oh, you're the brain surgeon with a penthouse downtown. And your family's loaded. You live in Moore Park, don't you?
Are you a detective?
Oh, the nurses want to marry you. Are you single?
Actually, I have a fiance. What's wrong with having a fiance?
It's just, if you were single, I would have introduced you to my mom. My grandma always says she needs a good man to take care of her. And you look like a good man.
You her matchmaker?
She used to be married, but now they don't live together anymore.
I'm sorry to hear that.
So if I fall asleep one day and never wake up again, she'd be all alone.
Well, then let's just hope that doesn't happen, okay? Who is your mom anyways?
Max? Max, I've been looking for you everywhere. Let's get you to your room, okay? Let's go.
What's wrong with the little guy?
Leukemia. His whole family's been tested, but we haven't found a match for a bone marrow transplant yet.
Bye, Dr. Blaine.
Blaine felt his heart ache at Ramona's answer. He knew how difficult it was to find that kind of donor.
Max! There you are. Where'd you go? You have to stay in your room, you little troublemaker.
Well, he struck up a friendship with a hot surgeon, Dr. Dexter.
Hey, Max, sweetie, go in. I'll be right there. Ramona, Dr. Dexter cannot know who Max is. He can't know his last name. He can't know that he's related to me, okay? Do you understand?
Zoe, what's going on?
Please, just promise me.
I promise you.
Okay. Thank you.
Zoe couldn't tell her that Blaine's mother attempted to take her life and Max's 7 years ago. But she had to keep Max safe, and keeping the truth from Blaine was the only way. But would she be able to keep them apart forever? Only time would tell.
Hi.
No need to sit. Just wanted to check up on where you're at with Blaine Dexter.
Okay. Dinner was great. He had to leave early on a hospital call, though, so now we're currently...
Moving forward, as they should be. Right, Zoe?
Mm-hmm.
We cannot mess this deal up. Understood?
Yes. I am on it, boss.
That's what I like to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Hello?
Hi, it's me. Zoe. Zoe Fuller?
This was impossible. How could Zoe be expected to work for him, given their history?
Look, I know you may not want to work with me, but you're a very important client to us, and I would like to see this deal through, so I would appreciate if you could...
Why don't we meet at my place? Tonight. Let's say 6.
At your place?
Well, yeah, you need to see my furniture, don't you?
Right. Of course.
Is that okay with you?
Mm-hmm.
The spare key's under the mat, in case I'm not there yet. It's my fiance's, but you can use it. I'll send you the address.
Great. I will see you tonight.
Zoe had almost forgotten Blaine was engaged. She knew she had to be strong. She had to move past her fears.
You got this.
But she had no idea that her darkest fears just might come true.
Dr. Blaine Dexter, please. It's his mother. I need to speak to him immediately.
Of course, this is his house.
Suddenly, Zoe was dizzy. What was she doing? How could she meet with Blaine alone after what Blaine's mother had done to her? She cursed herself for forgetting to eat today. Her mother was right. She wasn't taking care of herself.
You again. I thought I got rid of you the first time.
Catherine, please leave me alone. I'm just trying to provide for my son.
You mean your illegitimate baby that you had with my son? Did you really think you could weasel your way back in? I will kill you. Make no mistake. If you try to get close to Blaine, I will end your life.
But suddenly, in her hallucination, Zoe thought of Max and the life she wanted to provide for him. Zoe decided right then and there she wasn't going to let the Dexter family dictate her life.
You can't scare me anymore. I'll show you who Zoe Fuller really is.
But what did Zoe just walk into? Will Blaine stay with his fiancée, despite his growing feelings? And when will Zoe run into her attempted murderer, Catherine Dexter, again?
Wow. So this is where Blaine lives. Be professional, Zoe. He's moved on.
Have you been waiting long?
Blaine, your house is amazing. Why do you need an interior designer?
For our new home. Me and my fiance.
This doesn't have to be weird. We're both adults, right? I know you've moved on. And I have too.
Is that why you were so jealous of sister being treated by me?
I wasn't jealous.
You know, she reminds me of a younger you. Impulsive. Flirty. Dangerous. Or is that still you?
Aren't you engaged, Blaine?
Good. Our second date.
I'm serious, Blaine. You need to stay professional.
I already told you, I'm engaged. And you are... single?
I'm married.
But Zoe was lying. She used to be married.
Oh.
But things changed.
Well, good for you. You can leave those. We're waiting on another person. Thank you.
Who are we waiting for?
Who do you think?
Blaney.
Sophia Quincy. Everyone knew Sophia Quincy, the heiress to the Quincy Corporation, an aerospace conglomerate. This was the kind of woman Catherine Dexter wanted Blaine to be with. It all made sense.
Sophia. Lovely to meet you, Chloe.
Actually, it's Zoe.
Looks so good.
Oh. Sorry. Sorry. Look at us. Look at like kids. Let's talk interior design.
Yes.
Yes. I have some mock-ups together if you wanted to take a look.
Ooh.
Jeez. I love that color.
Zoe couldn't deny how nice Sophia was. Gorgeous, rich, and kind. How could Zoe possibly compete with that?
I'm so sorry. I actually have to go.
Can't it wait?
No, it's my son. He needs me.
Oh, you have a son? How darling. Blaney and I cannot wait to have kids. Right, sweetie?
Yeah.
Yes, I can grab
Sure.
these. Miss Quincy, I will be in touch with you. Dr. Dexter, good to see you.
Good to see you. Do you know her?
Hardly.
Little did Blaine know, he already had a child.
She dropped this. Zoe?
But Zoe could never let him find that out.
Oh my god. That's the heart of the sea necklace.
It was the priceless necklace Blaine had given Zoe years ago. He couldn't believe that she still had it after all this time. Could that mean she still held a torch for him? Like he did for her?
Why would a low-level interior designer have something this expensive?
She's not low level. I need to use the restroom.
But Sophia wasn't convinced.
It's me. Look, I need some information on someone. An interior designer by the name of Zoe Fuller.
Hey, what's going on? Where's Max?
He had an episode. They stabilized him. He's fine. You can visit him soon. But they want to run a lot more tests.
Tests? What kind of tests?
The expensive kind.
Money was tight, but Zoe knew she had a fallback option.
I'm sorry, Zoe. I know money's tight for you right now, and just... Zoe. Zoe, are you okay? Zoe.
The only hope Zoe had of paying for Max's treatment was gone.
Blaine?
So what's a married woman doing on my doorstep in the middle of the night?
Look, I'm just gonna cut to the chase, okay? Do you have my necklace?
Don't you mean my necklace? Since I'm the one who gave it to you.
Blaine, please. Not now. I need that necklace.
For what? For remembering the guy you left behind all those years ago? For no reason?
That's not...
You broke my heart, Zoe.
Blaine could never know the truth. That she was forced to leave. Forced for her own safety.
I can't do this. Forget it.
Wait.
What?
Turn around. Turn around.
Could he tell how badly she wanted him?
Don't lose it again.
More confused than ever, Zoe had what she needed to pay for Max's treatments. But given the history, could she really sell it?
I came as soon as I heard.
This is Matthew, the man she married, and the heart she had broken. All because she could never stop thinking about her first true love, Blaine Dexter.
Thank you. What am I supposed to do?
We will get through this. All right? Together.
Come to bed. It's been so long since we...
I can't. The hospital needs me.
It wasn't just the hospital that needed Blaine. Blaine might be Max's only hope. But could Zoe tell Blaine the truth?
They said the chemo would work, and it's not working.
Look, this can happen with chemo. Patients can build up a tolerance to it, then it loses efficacy. Zoe, I looked over Max's chart. He has chronic toxic hepatitis. Now, there are ways of treating this, but...
Let me guess, it's really expensive. The bills just keep racking up. I'm never gonna get out of it.
And in that moment, Zoe knew what she needed to do.
Matthew, I know we're not married anymore, but...
I can't give you any more money, Zoe. I'm sorry.
It's not that. It's just...
Could you watch Max tonight? I have something that I need to do.
Of course.
Thank you.
Tell me.
The patient is in triage.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
That's the husband, huh? What does he have that I don't?
Long night, Dr. Dexter. You were incredible in surgery.
Thanks, Ramona. I'm headed home. I gotta get some sleep. Page me if anything comes in, okay?
Sorry. Oh, it's a good thing your coffee was cold.
You in a hurry to see your husband, Zoe?
Even though Zoe hated lying to Blaine, she couldn't risk him knowing that she was there for Max. He couldn't know about
Why
him.
else would I be here?
Good. Go on. I'll see you around. Wait. I'm sorry. It's really hard for me to see you as someone else. You need to change out of that shirt.
Probably.
Here's a shirt.
Thank you. All right, I'll turn around.
I've seen you naked before.
Yeah, well, that was a very different time, wasn't it?
She was driving him wild. How could he possibly stand this?
You haven't changed a bit.
It was really happening. They were about to give in to their desires after being apart for so long. Zoe couldn't believe it.
It's your wife. She wants to see me.
She's not my wife yet.
Blaine, we can't do this. This is too messy. I mean, you're engaged and...
And you're married.
Right.
Unless there's something that you're not telling me. Where's your necklace? Where's your necklace, Zoe? Zoe, where's your necklace?
I had to sell it.
You sold it? Why? Why would you sell it? Why?
I can't tell you.
So that's what I meant to you?
No.
I guess that settles where we stand.
Dr. Dexter.
Yeah, yes.
Sorry, but we need you in surgery. We've got a complicated case.
Yeah, I'll be right there.
Blaine, please let me explain to you. I just needed...
Whatever the reason, I hope you got what you needed.
Hi, baby.
Sophia. Listen, I think we need...
What's wrong?
That necklace. Where did you get that necklace?
I bought it at a pawn shop.
A pawn shop?
Clearly, whoever sold it didn't care about it.
Take it off. Now.
Why? Tell me. I know it was hers, Blaine.
You know nothing.
I know she sold it. And that says a lot. If it helps, apparently she needed the money. Badly.
She did?
So forget about poor, pathetic interior designer and start thinking about the future. Your wedding to me. Hospital needs you. Of course. Don't tell me. Just go.
Blaine knew that no matter how hard Sophia tried, she would compare to Zoe.
Zoe, just the gal I wanted to see. Look, since you are taking on big accounts now, I am sending you to Scottsdale for a couple days. Huge opportunity there with a new client. I need you to close the deal.
Talon, that is so great. But I
But, Zoe, this is what you wanted, isn't it?
Yes. Of course. Thank you.
Okay. I like that.
Yes. Okay. Hi. I'm so sorry I'm late. I got held up at work.
At work? Huh. It's so funny. I called your office and they said that you weren't there, that you spend a lot of time at the hospital.
Yes. I have family there.
How convenient. So are we going to go over designs or not?
Of course. Of course. So I was thinking that we could draw some inspiration from...
Oh, my necklace. I found it at a pawn shop. It's so funny, the kinds of things that you can find in the most surprising places.
It definitely suits you.
I know, it does. Oh, and Zoe, I don't like people envying my things, so keep your eyes on your own jewelry. Understood.
Understood. Miss Quincy.
Did Sophia know what was happening between Zoe and Blaine? Did she know that Zoe sold the necklace to a pawn shop? Blaine couldn't get Zoe out of his head. What could she possibly have needed to sell the necklace for? What was so important?
You sneaking out?
Dr. Blaine!
Where you going, little man?
Can't tell Nurse Ramona.
Where are you going, little man?
I want to get my mommy a pet.
Pet? Okay. Does she like animals?
Not really, actually. It's just... I don't think I have much time left. And I wanted to have something, or at least someone, that could live longer than me.
Well, you know what, Max? You're gonna live a really long life. And your mom is so lucky to have a guy in her life like you that cares about her.
You still haven't met her. You'd really like her.
I'm sure that I would. You know what? I got a little time to kill, and I know a really cool pet store right around the corner. Wanna go check it out? Show your mom
Yeah.
how thoughtful you are? Huh?
Yeah.
All right, follow me.
How is he?
Max will be receiving experimental treatment for the next few weeks. But my boss called and they need me in Scottsdale for work. Is there any chance that you could handle visiting Max for me just while I'm gone?
Of course, Zoe. We'll take care of him, of course.
Thank you.
Suddenly, the day caught up to Zoe. The encounter with Blaine, the confrontation with Sophia.
Okay. Need a little water? Why don't you come sit for a little?
No, I need to spend as much time with Max before I go.
Oh, to tell that haughty doctor I haven't forgotten about him. Unless you've gotten to him yet again.
Zoe knew she was being paranoid. How could Ziva possibly know what happened between her and Blaine?
What did you say?
What?
That's exactly how Zoe felt too. The ghost of her past.
You gotta introduce this little guy to your mom, huh? You excited?
Yeah.
Zoe, you look like you've seen a ghost.
No, I'm fine. It's just been
No. It hit Zoe. How natural Blaine was with Max. How compatible they were. Maybe life didn't need to be so lonely. It was time to tell Blaine the truth.
Blaine, this restaurant is lovely. You always know just what I'll like. Sophia praised him. Blaine just smiled faintly in reply. His gaze kept returning to the heart of the sea necklace around Sophia's neck. $4 million. Sell me the necklace. Sophia's face paled and her eyes turned red instantly. Blaine, who are you buying the heart of the sea for? Blaine's heavy eyes stared straight at Sophia. No matter who it is for, there's one thing for sure. It doesn't belong to you, nor should it be around your neck. Tears flickered in Sophia's eyes. It doesn't belong to me? Who does it belong to then? Does it belong to Zoe? Blaine looked at Sophia's tear-stained face, but found he couldn't muster any pity for her. Sophia, the necklace around your neck is my memory, my youth. Why else do you think I want to buy it? Sophia's face was white. I'm your fiancé, Blaine. So, I don't think it's appropriate for my fiancé to wear my ex-girlfriend's necklace. Blaine's eyes blazed with anger. Take it off, Sophia. The next day, Zoe received a call from Sophia. She asked Zoe to come to see her, as Sophia felt there were a few problems with Zoe's latest design. Wanting to please a client, Zoe immediately offered to meet Sophia. Zoe quickly took down the address Sophia gave her and left. Now, standing outside the location where Sophia had asked that they meet, Zoe was in a trance. Sophia had asked Zoe to meet her at Winchester's, the finest bridal shop in Phoenix. Finally, Zoe reluctantly opened the door and entered the elegant and expensive bridal store. Zoe couldn't believe this was happening. Zoe had now become an unwilling witness to Sophia's final wedding dress fitting. Zoe suddenly saw Blaine standing in front of her. When he saw Zoe standing at the door, Blaine's usually expressionless eyes flashed with some unspoken emotion as they glittered and darkened. Zoe! Sophia's voice came from behind her. Zoe felt even more depressed. Sophia, I think you're too busy today. I should be going. We can talk about your design concerns another time, Zoe told her. Zoe, don't be like this. Sophia then took Zoe's hand affectionately and smiled. I'm just so busy right now with all the last-minute wedding preparations. It's happening so soon that this was the only time I had to meet with you. And don't worry, we're almost done. My reception dress was the last one I needed to try on. Zoe took a deep breath and nodded in agreement. All right, I'll wait for you. Suddenly, Zoe dropped the magazine, stood up, and walked over to Blaine. She needed to put an end to this farce. Blaine watched Zoe's approach silently. Zoe nervously swiped her hands down the side of her jeans. Zoe paused for a moment, bit her lip, then continued. I don't want Sophia to misunderstand anything. In the future, Dr. Dexter, we cannot meet again in private. Blaine's dark eyes sparked at her words. Then he smirked and said, "Then I'll have to trouble you to control yourself and not provoke me again." What Blaine said sounded harsh to Zoe. She cleared her throat and said hoarsely, "Could I trouble you to mention to your fiancé that in the future it would be best if she asked to meet me at the job site or another neutral location? It's somewhat awkward as an outsider to be the witness to such a private moment." A dark glint appeared in Blaine's gloomy eyes as he stared deeply at Zoe. Suddenly, he averted his eyes and said, "You can leave. Please stay out of my world from now on and never dream of breaking in again and messing up my life." As he said this, Zoe could feel her own heart go cold. Dr. Warner had called a meeting of the hospital's surgical staff to discuss whether they should operate on a patient who was also HIV positive. It was very evident to Blaine that Dr. Warner wasn't in favor of this operation. David leaned over to whisper, "Blaine, what do you think about this?" Blaine raised his eyebrows and pursed his lips. "What about you?" "I think what Dr. Warner is saying sounds reasonable," David replied. "And you?" Blaine turned to Jose, who sat on the other side of him. Jose pointed at David. "I'm with David. I think what he's saying makes sense." Blaine kept his hands leisurely in the pockets of his white coat. He was calm and spoke with authority and immediately had everyone in the room's attention. "Our duty as doctors is to prolong life. Without brain surgery, this man's life will be over. Therefore, I'm in favor of conducting the operation, and I'll volunteer to do it myself." Ramona was still worrying about the operation when she happened to see Zoe in the hall the next day. Ramona called out to her, "Zoe, Dr. Dexter is putting himself in danger, and I fear that only you can stop him." On the day of the surgery, the whole neurology department was filled with a strange sense of nervous anticipation. Blaine had begun the surgery on the patient at 11 o'clock that morning. Now it had been 5 full hours, and the operation still hadn't ended. Scalpel. Blaine reached out his gloved hand, and the sharp scalpel was placed in his hand. "Damn it, his finger has been pierced!" Jose cursed as his face turned pale. Blaine tried his best to remain internally calm as he moved his hands away to protect Kelly and comforted everyone on the scene. Jose was so nervous that cold sweat broke out on his forehead. "Dr. Dexter, hurry up and go rest. Let me do it. Why are you still here?" "No, Dr. Ramirez." Blaine told him firmly in an attempt to calm him down. "My hand has already been pierced. I will finish suturing the patient. Step away from the operating table." "But," Jose faltered. He didn't know what to say. Blaine finished suturing the patient, and the operation was finally over. The operation itself had been quite successful, and he thought the patient's prospects overall were very good. That weekend, Zoe was spending time with Max at the hospital. Zoe was stirring the sugar into her coffee when she heard Luna and the other nurses say Blaine's name. "Did you hear what happened to Dr. Dexter?" Luna asked. Hearing Luna's question, all the other nurses hurriedly gathered around the nurses' station counter. "It happened when he was performing surgery on an HIV-positive patient a few days ago. I heard that he had his hand pierced by a needle on the operating table and was told by the hospital director to stay home until he got his HIV test results back." Zoe could no longer hear what the nurses were saying. "Luna, I have something urgent to do and I need to go out. Will you let Max know when he wakes up that I'll be back as soon as I can?" "Of course, Zoe. Do what you need to do. I'll let him know," Luna promised. "Thank you," Zoe said as she rushed into the elevator. Now that Zoe was standing in the lobby of Blaine's building without even thinking, Zoe pressed the buzzer for Blaine's penthouse. After 10 minutes of buzzing, the phone in Zoe's pocket rang. She hurriedly answered her phone. "Blaine, is that you? Are you there?" she asked anxiously. "Zoe, for God's sake, stop pressing the buzzer. You're giving me a headache," Blaine told her wearily. Then immediately after he finished speaking, he hung up on her. Zoe ran outside and began to shout, "Blaine! Let me in! Blaine, open the door! Let me in!" Zoe yelled at the top of her lungs. Blaine's penthouse was on the 20th floor, but she didn't care. She figured if she yelled as loud as she could, he'd hear her. Blaine stood by the window and looked down at the stubborn figure standing below. Seeing the woman downstairs, Blaine realized that she must have been scolded by the other residents by now. That should have made her give up. However, this was Zoe. She would fight to the death to make something happen. She'd never give up so easily. As he watched her, suddenly a basin of water was thrown from above. Damn it, Blaine swore. He obviously hadn't expected that to happen. He didn't even think. He had to get to her. Blaine grabbed his jacket and rushed downstairs. When one of Blaine's neighbors dumped cold water on Zoe's head from above, she finally went silent. Zoe, can you be any more stubborn? At the sound of his familiar voice, Zoe felt a rush of relief go through her. She felt a warm coat being wrapped tightly around her. Zoe's face lit up. She looked up at him with misty eyes. Blaine! When Zoe said his name, Blaine's eyes darkened even further. Then he told Zoe in an extremely calm tone, "My penthouse is equipped with soundproof glass." What? Blaine hadn't been able to hear her shouting. Now she was soaked and freezing. Why didn't you say so earlier? Zoe hissed at him through her chattering teeth. Blaine pulled the coat tighter around her. Stop talking. I don't want you here. I'm not leaving. Zoe stubbornly refused. Blaine, don't push me away. Not right now. Zoe, get lost. Blaine suddenly shouted. Zoe didn't move. I'm not going to leave. Zoe tried to shout back at him with all her might, but her throat was already so hoarse that she could barely get the words out. I'm not going to leave. It's just HIV. I'm not afraid. I will stay here and take care of you today. No, you need to leave. His tone was domineering and unyielding. At this moment, Zoe could clearly see the loneliness reflected in Blaine's eyes. He then added in a hoarse voice, Don't get involved with this mess. Go home and stay as far away from me as possible. Zoe's eyes were completely flooded with tears from his depressing words. Don't chase me away. This time, Zoe didn't argue with him. Her voice had softened. As soon as she spoke, her tears began to fall. She reached out and wrapped her arms around Blaine's muscular waist to hug him, ignoring everything else. She pressed her face against his soft shirt and whispered, Blaine, don't chase me away. I'm not leaving. I don't want to leave. Please don't make me. Don't get involved with this mess. Go home and stay as far away from me as possible. Zoe's eyes were completely flooded with tears from his depressing words. He clearly had been shunned these past few days by his so-called friends. I can't even find half a friend now. As he'd said this, she'd felt her heart breaking for him. She couldn't imagine what it must feel like to have people afraid of you and avoiding you because of their fear. Don't chase me away. This time, Zoe didn't argue with him. Her voice had softened. As soon as she spoke, her tears began to fall. She reached out and wrapped her arms around Blaine's muscular waist to hug him, ignoring everything else. She pressed her face against his soft shirt and whispered, Blaine, don't chase me away. I'm not leaving. I don't want to leave. Please don't make me. Even if you've been infected, I wouldn't catch it just from being in your apartment. You're a doctor, so why don't you even have this kind of common sense? Ever a gentleman, Blaine opened the car door for Zoe. It's late, so drive carefully, he told her. She nodded that she would be careful before telling him, Don't worry about your leave of absence. The hospital really didn't have much choice under such circumstances. Nothing has been decided or determined yet. Blaine didn't answer her. Zoe knew what Blaine was thinking. If he were diagnosed with HIV, then his dream of being a doctor would come to an end. A dream he obviously wasn't ready to relinquish. When will your test results be in? Zoe asked him. Soon, probably in the next few days, he answered. Zoe knew the longer they made Blaine wait, the more painful the wait would be for him. Zoe looked up at him. Blaine, when you get your results, no matter what, I hope you'll share them with me. Blaine gazed at her with lowered eyes. I promise you, you'll be the first to know after me. No matter what the outcome is, I will not hide it from you. Good. Zoe nodded, a bit choked up. Then, I'm leaving. Goodbye, Blaine. Seeing the expression on Blaine's face, Zoe felt 1,000 butterflies take flight in her stomach. Blaine gazed deep into Zoe's eyes, unspoken emotions swirling between them. Zoe, no matter what happens, thank you. Zoe pursed her lips, trying to suppress her whirling emotions. After taking a deep breath, she said to him, Blaine, if one day, if there ever really comes a day when everyone else in the world abandons you, believe me when I say, I'll be there for you. As long as I'm alive, you will never be alone. I'll always be there for you. I'll always be your friend. As long as she was alive, Blaine would have her and their son. Zoe had already thought about it. If the results of his HIV test were positive, she would have to tell him about Max. She couldn't deny him that last shred of hope. Blaine suddenly let go of her hand. With a hint of coldness slipping into his eyes, he lifted his lips and said, "Goodbye, Zoe." "Goodbye, Blaine." The emptiness that suddenly appeared in Zoe's heart made her feel slightly disappointed. Zoe smiled awkwardly, then started her car and drove away. The days of waiting for Blaine's test results were undoubtedly among the most torturous of Zoe's life. It had been 3 days since she'd seen Blaine, and his results were expected any time now. Zoe was so worried. "Zoe, you wrote another wrong number on this blueprint." Courtney walked over to Zoe's desk with a CAD drawing in her hand. "Oh, is that so? I'm so sorry. Let me check again." Zoe apologized as she opened her CAD software. Courtney leaned her hip casually against Zoe's desk and looked at her worriedly. "Hey, what's up with you these past few days? Is everything okay? Is Max doing all right? He hasn't had any more complications, has he?" No, Max is doing okay." Zoe shook her head and smiled apologetically as she took the CAD drawing from her. "Come, let me see what's wrong with the drawing." "Okay, well, as long as you're fine, as long as Max is fine." "Seeing how worried you've been this week, I've been growing concerned," Courtney told her. "I'm fine, don't worry." Zoe smiled at her friend in an attempt to reassure her. "Hey, Zoe, this just came for you." An assistant approached Zoe's desk holding an express delivery envelope. "Here you go." "Thank you." Zoe took the envelope and looked at it, puzzled over what it might be. "What's that?" Courtney asked her curiously. "I don't know." Zoe shook her head and tore the envelope open. Inside it were only a few pieces of thin paper. Zoe started to read them, still puzzled, when suddenly the words HIV and test results jumped out at her. At that moment, Zoe's heart stopped beating. These papers were the result of Blaine's HIV test. Within a few seconds, her palms grew slick with sweat. Zoe had been anticipating the results, but now that she held them in her hand, she realized she was too cowardly to look at them. She closed her eyes and pressed the papers against her heart. She prayed for a moment and then opened her eyes. She took a deep breath and mustered the courage to turn to the last page. When she saw the words she was looking for, Zoe's eyes became watery. She was trying her best to control her emotions, but she couldn't help herself and burst into tears. This sudden change in mood frightened Courtney, who was still standing there. "Zoe, what's wrong? What happened? Why are you crying? Please, don't cry. Don't cry." Courtney was trying to calm Zoe as best she could. "Court, I'm fine. I'm just so happy. These are tears of joy." Zoe was so relieved that her prayers had been answered. His test results were negative. Blaine didn't have HIV. "Good morning, Dr. Dexter." "Hello, Dr. Dexter. So good to have you back." "Dr. Dexter, we heard the good news. Congratulations." Blaine walked towards his office with a smile and his hands in the pockets of his white coat. On the way, many familiar faces he passed called out to him in greeting. Today was his first day back at St. Mary's since receiving his negative HIV test results. "Blaine, welcome back." David walked over and hugged Blaine. "Dr. Dexter, we missed you so much." Jose was so excited that he immediately jumped up and hugged Blaine, slapping him hard on the back as he did so. "Man, you really scared us." Blaine hugged both men back, thanking them for their brotherly affection. "Dr. Dexter, it's so great to have you back with us," Ramona said, her voice cracking with emotion. Then she burst into tears and hugged Blaine tightly. In the crowd, Zoe couldn't help but wipe her tears away. As Blaine shook hands with yet another staff member, he spotted Zoe at the back of the crowd. After everyone had left, he walked over to where Zoe stood waiting for him. Zoe looked a little uncomfortable. "You seem a little embarrassed by all the adoration and attention." "It's not that I'm embarrassed, I just feel that all this praise isn't necessary. I'm just like any other doctor, I was just doing my job." Blaine habitually put his hands into his pockets as he said this. Zoe extended her right hand toward him. Congratulations. Congratulations on what? Blaine asked in confusion. He stretched out his hand and shook hands with her. Congratulations on returning to your beloved profession, of course. She smiled. Thank you, Zoe. Zoe turned around and walked away, heading down the long corridor. Suddenly, a charming voice called out to him, Blaine! It was Sophia. Sophia intimately held Blaine's hand and apologized. Sorry, Blaine. Have you been mad that I didn't come to see you these past few weeks? Sophia, no need to explain so much to me. I didn't care at all. Whether it was because Sophia was too busy or because she was panicking, Blaine didn't want to discuss the matter any further. He really just didn't care. The moment Blaine got off work, he saw Max sneaking out of the hospital doors from afar and entering the pet store next to the hospital. Blaine tilted his head to take a look, then without even thinking about it, followed Max into the store. Blaine found him standing on his tiptoes beside a tall fish tank. Blaine squatted down beside him and imitated his actions, looking at the little red fish in the tank. What are you looking at? Do you want to buy this fish? Yes. The little guy nodded heavily. Then his gaze became more serious as he watched the fish swim in circles. Dr. Dexter, tell me, which fish do you think will live longer than me? Max's words stunned Blaine for a moment. His throat was a bit dry. None of them will live longer than you, Max. Max chuckled as he shook his head a bit sadly. Dr. Dexter, I know you are lying to me. Dr. Dexter is a doctor. If the doctor says that the fish can't outlive you, then they won't outlive you. Max didn't respond to Blaine. Instead, he asked the shop's owner, Sir, do you have fish that are in good health? The owner looked puzzled. Little man, all of our fish are very well taken care of. Max stuck his head over and reminded the shopkeeper, Remember, I need a fish that can't get sick. Blaine helped the little guy settle the debt. When the owner collected the money, he couldn't help but praise. Sir, your son is really cute. Blaine lowered his head and looked down at the little boy standing beside his feet. He reached out his hand and touched the warm little head and smiled. You misunderstood. I'm not his father. Really? I would never have guessed. You two really do look alike, the man replied, clearly surprised. Blaine smiled but didn't say anything more. He figured this was just the false flattery of a salesman. He led Max out of the store. Max followed him into the hospital with the small fish tank in one hand and Blaine's big hand in the other. Max, can you tell me why you bought this fish? Blaine asked. It's for my mommy. I want the fish to keep her company. As the little guy spoke, his footsteps suddenly quickened. Blaine was very curious about Max's mother. He wanted to meet the woman who had raised such a sensible and smart child. Looking down at the little guy, Blaine smiled and asked, Hey Max, do you want to bring Dr. Dexter to meet your beautiful mommy?
No. It hit Zoe. How natural Blaine was with Max. How compatible they were. Maybe life didn't need to be so lonely. It was time to tell Blaine the truth.
When Blaine asked Max if he wanted to introduce him to his beautiful mommy, the little guy was excited by the idea. Yes, Dr. Dexter, come meet my mommy. Unexpectedly, as soon as the two of them walked into the hospital's lobby, they bumped into Sophia. And even more unexpectedly, Blaine's mother, Catherine Dexter, was with her. Mom? When Blaine saw the dignified and graceful woman opposite him, he was pleasantly surprised. His mother was hard to get close to, and he wondered why she had come. What are you doing here? Son. When Catherine saw her precious son, whom she hadn't seen for a very long time, she was so excited that her eyes welled up with tears. She reached out and hugged Blaine. I missed you so much. I missed you too, Mom. Why didn't you give me a call when you knew you were coming here? I just got off work. We could have missed seeing each other, Blaine replied. Your mother said that she wanted to surprise you, Blaine, so I didn't call ahead, Sophia explained with a smile on her face. Sophia suddenly noticed the little boy standing by Blaine's feet. Wow, where did this child come from? He's such a little cutie. Hello. Max greeted Sophia with a shy smile. Then, clutching his fishbowl, Max turned to the older woman standing beside Sophia and added, "Hello, grandmother." As he greeted Catherine, he gave her a lopsided, childish smile. Catherine frowned as she looked down her nose at the child beside her son's feet indifferently. She adjusted the blazer she wore and sniffed coldly. "Grandmother is not a name this child should be calling me." The sensitive Max's smile faltered. He didn't understand why the lady seemed not to like him. "Mom, don't be like that. He's just a little boy." Understandably, he would call you grandmother. You probably look like his own grandmother. Blaine patted Max's bald head to comfort him. "Blaine?" Catherine was flustered. "How can you speak to me that way? And in defense of such a boy, out of all things." "Blaine, please relax." Sophia was playing the peacemaker. She touched Blaine's arm and said in a low voice, "Your mother came here with great difficulty. Don't make the relationship worse." Blaine took a deep breath and sighed. "Let me take this child back to his room first. You two wait for me by the front entrance, and then I'll take you both to dinner and we can catch up." Zoe's mind was a whirlwind of emotion and pain. Seeing Catherine with Max, seeing Max with Blaine, those things were overwhelming enough. But then Catherine had said that Blaine was getting married in a week. 1 week! 1 week until Blaine was truly lost to her forever. Blaine took his mother and Sophia to dine at a 5-star restaurant not far from the hospital. After dinner, the three of them took a walk downtown. The fall festival was in full swing and the street was bustling with noise and excitement. Sophia excitedly pointed out things she thought Blaine's mother might find interesting. Blaine, however, was bored and wandered off to have a moment to himself. As Blaine walked, he noticed an umbrella pavilion set up on the corner. Next to it stood a man dressed in a cartoon costume of a bald man. The costume man was vigorously promoting the box of condoms in his hand. Drawing a little closer, Blaine decided, no, not a man after all. The person inside the costume was a woman. Blaine could hear her trying hard to promote the condoms in her hands. "Don't miss out! Luxurious comfort, super thin experience, textured interior." Why did her sincere voice sound so familiar? Blaine suddenly stopped. His dark eyes were suddenly on fire as he stared fiercely at the costumed woman. "Sir, give it a try. You won't regret it. 50% off tonight. Buy a box." "I'll buy a box." Suddenly, a voice as cold as ice sounded in Zoe's ears. The smile on Zoe's face, which was covered by the head of her costume, froze on the spot before disappearing completely. Oh my God, why was Blaine here? Blaine's increasingly furious eyes were glaring at Zoe. She knew that he'd recognized her. Just as Zoe was about to remove the head of her costume to argue to the death with Blaine, she caught sight of Sophia approaching. And Catherine was with her. Zoe panicked. Her face turned pale under the costume. Then Zoe did the only thing she could think to do. She ran. "Zoe, if it's really you inside that costume, you're dead for sure." Zoe grabbed her bald head to keep it in place and ran away in her costume in a clumsy panic. Blaine chased after her without thinking. Now he was positive that it was Zoe inside the costume. "You'd better not let me catch up to you, otherwise you're finished." Blaine shouted at her costumed back as she fled. Zoe dodged and weaved through the crowded street, struggling to run in the awkward costume. But why was Blaine even chasing her? What the hell was he trying to do? Zoe's breath was growing short when she suddenly saw a sign ahead directing people to the restrooms. Zoe burst through the bathroom door and slammed it shut behind her. Panting heavily, Zoe took off the bald man's head and sat on the toilet lid to catch her breath. Bang! Zoe jumped as the bathroom door suddenly flew open and smashed into the wall. Then, with another loud bang, the door was ruthlessly slammed shut and locked. Blaine watched Zoe with fiery eyes. He was slightly out of breath, and a thin layer of sweat seeped through his white shirt. "What are you trying to do?" she asked him angrily. Blaine smirked coldly. Blaine was so close now the two of them were both breathing very hard. Zoe could clearly feel the scorching air coming from between his lips as his hot breath mingled with her own. Blaine lowered his head and fiercely kissed Zoe's lips, wantonly attacking her mouth. Zoe hadn't expected him to suddenly kiss her. She pushed her hands against his chest and turned her head to the side to break the kiss. "Blaine, what are you doing?" But before Zoe could finish speaking, Blaine had once again sealed his lips over hers. However, in that exact moment, the phone in Blaine's pocket rang. Zoe's eyes went wide. For a moment, it was as if her breathing had stopped. "Huh?" Sophia's suspicious voice came from outside the door. He immediately muted his phone without hesitation. Zoe's eyes widened in disbelief. In this situation, Blaine actually dared to kiss her. Did he not know that the people standing outside were his mother and his future wife? Outside the restroom, Sophia finally gave up. "Mom, let's go back to the corner and retrace our steps. We'll probably run into him that way." As soon as the two women walked away, Blaine let go of Zoe. Zoe clutched the bathroom wall beside her, panting as she glared at the man in front of her. She felt wronged and annoyed. "Blaine, you lunatic!" Finally, he straightened his clothes and gave her a light smile. I never understood until tonight how exciting sneaking around could be. Blaine turned around, pushed open the door to the bathroom, and calmly walked out. As Blaine calmly walked out of the ladies' room, he could hear Zoe cursing his name. Several other salesmen were still there, doing their best to promote their products. Blaine walked up and told the salesman closest to him calmly, "I'll buy all the boxes you have here. Count them and tell me how much." "What?" The salesman was so surprised that he couldn't even close his mouth. Blaine frowned impatiently as he urged the man, "Count them, I don't have all night." "Sir, there are a total of 20 cases. Each case contains 50 individual boxes. So the total for all of them is $20,000. For such a good customer, I will give you 10% off, so your total is $18,000. We take cash or credit cards." "No need for a discount. Charge me the full $20,000. But Zoe Fuller's name is to be written on the invoice, and she should earn the full commission on this sale. She's the one who convinced me to buy them." "What?" The salesperson thought he didn't hear Blaine clearly. Blaine raised his eyes and looked at him harshly. "Is there a problem?" No, of course not." "Tell her my surname is Dexter. She'll know where to send them." After Blaine said this, he walked away without looking back. Zoe finished her work and dejectedly walked back to her car. Throwing her bald head carelessly into the back seat, Zoe turned on the engine and started to drive home. Pulling into her driveway a short time later, Zoe turned off her car and sat there for a long moment, thinking about all that had happened that night. Zoe got out and shut the car door. As she was turning around to head inside the house, Zoe saw her. Sophia was standing in front of her house. Zoe looked at Sophia in astonishment. Under the dim streetlight, Sophia's black dress disappeared into the night sky, giving her a somewhat eerie appearance. Her face, which always had a gentle smile, was now so cold that it made Zoe shiver. When Sophia saw Zoe, she slowly approached her one step at a time, each click of her high heels seemingly more ominous than the last. It was Zoe's first time seeing Sophia like this. To be honest, Zoe felt a rush of apprehension watching her approach. She looked so intimidating. Then Zoe felt a bit silly and forced herself to calm down as Sophia stopped in front of her. "Sophia, you're looking for me?" Zoe asked. Sophia had slapped Zoe across the face. The sudden turn of events left Zoe dazed. "Zoe, how does it feel to be a mistress?" "It's great. It's exciting, isn't it?" "Zoe, how does it feel to be a mistress?" "It's great. It's exciting, isn't it?" Sophia's words stunned Zoe for a moment. Her body froze and her face paled. I dropped my earpiece. When I turned around to look for it, I saw the two of you walking out of the bathroom, one after another. After saying this, Sophia took a deep breath, endured the dull pain in her heart, and smiled. Zoe watched as the not-so-harmless Sophia put back on her false face. Sophia's smile once again seemed gentle and warm. "It's all right, Zoe. Remember what you did to me tonight. The day will come when you will pay a heavy price for this." "Talon, you were looking for me?" "Here, take a look at this plan." Talon handed the blueprints in his hands to her. The preliminary design is for a new 5-star restaurant opening in Scottsdale. Zoe flipped through the drawings and asked, Scottsdale? Yes, we did the design for the client's restaurant here in Phoenix several years ago. Now he's opening another location in Scottsdale and wants us to design that one as well. I'm making you the lead on this project. You'll need to take a team to Scottsdale tomorrow to meet with him. Talon. Zoe pursed her lips, feeling a little awkward. Is this something Courtney can handle? This is, Finally, he put down the pen in his hand and asked, You worried about leaving your son? Yes. Zoe nodded honestly. I get it, Zoe, I do. After this initial meeting, you won't have to be on site. You can design and manage it from here. So, 3 days only. Does that work? That sounds great, Talon. Thanks for being so accommodating. I really appreciate it. She told him sincerely. Great! And look on the bright side. It's Scottsdale, your old stomping grounds. So you'll already know your way around. Early the next morning, a hazy layer of sunlight peeked through the window and onto Zoe's bed by the window. Zoe stared blankly out the window at the dawning sun. Suddenly, her eyes welled up with unshed tears. Blaine was finally going to get married. If not for such a cruel twist of fate, Zoe would have been Blaine's bride. Instead, she was forced to give him up and stand by while he became another woman's husband. Zoe wanted to fight for him, for them, but couldn't, and that was the cruelest twist of the knife in Zoe's heart. Zoe stretched out her arms and hugged her cold body. The phone in her pocket vibrated. It was one of the members of her design team. Hey Zoe, where are you? We're out front waiting for you in the van. We need to get going, her coworker told her. Okay, I'll be right there. Zoe took her suitcase and walked towards Max's bed. The little guy was still peacefully sleeping. She hoped his dreams were better than his current reality. Sighing, Zoe lowered her head and lightly kissed her son's soft forehead a few times. Not wanting to disturb his rest, she whispered to him softly, My sweet boy, Mommy has to leave for work, but she will think of you every minute of every day she is gone. I will be back as soon as possible. Goodbye, sweetheart. Zoe's voice was a little hoarse. 3 days for them would feel like 3 years. Not knowing what the future held, each day with Max was so precious, Zoe hated to miss even one. Her eyes wet, Zoe turned and wheeled her suitcase out of her son's hospital room. When they arrived in Scottsdale, Zoe and her team quickly checked into their hotel and headed out to work. They spent the entire day measuring the rooms in the restaurant and going over the blueprints and design schemes. When they were through for the day, the restaurant's owner, Evan Jones, invited Zoe and her team to dinner. At least Evan seemed like an okay guy. He was only a few years older than Zoe, but had already made a name for himself in the restaurant industry. Zoe, have you ever been to Scottsdale? Evan asked her warmly. Zoe smiled. I went to college here, Arizona University. Really? What a coincidence! I'm in town for a friend's wedding, and he's also a graduate of Arizona University. When he stops by, I'll introduce you. The man is so annoyingly superior, he makes all the men around him feel inferior. However, tonight is his last single night. After tomorrow, he'll be a married man, and the rest of us will have less competition. Zoe smiled and agreed. Sure. Look, here he is now. Evan rose and walked towards the door with a smile. Good to see you. How have you been, my friend? He greeted. I heard from Leo that you hadn't joined our group because you were too busy flirting with a new beauty from Phoenix. Are you going to introduce me to the woman that's making you bail on my bachelor party? Zoe almost thought that she was hallucinating when his pleasant voice rang out from the door of their private room. She turned around and saw Blaine's handsome face. Evan, is this the beauty Leo was talking about? He asked casually. Don't listen to Leo's nonsense, Evan replied, waving his hand. She's in town because she's the designer of my new restaurant, a new business associate, and hopefully now a friend. Sit down and have a drink with us. Let me introduce you. Coincidentally, she's also a graduate of Arizona University. Her name is Zoe. Blaine said Zoe's name before Evan could, and Zoe smiled uncomfortably. Evan was pleasantly surprised. Wow, so you two already know each other? Blaine smiled a crooked smile. We know each other. Yes. Blaine stared at Zoe for a long moment, but didn't say anything more. Evan gestured for Blaine to sit down. "Hey Zoe, since you know this guy, why don't you come with me to his wedding tomorrow?" Zoe could feel the color draining from her face. She hadn't expected Evan to ask her such a thing. "No, I can't. I'm only here for 3 days, and then I'm heading back to Phoenix. I have a lot of work to do, sorry." She tried to smile at Evan apologetically, but Zoe feared she just looked awkward. "Spend another day here. I'm your client. If I say you don't have to work tomorrow, you don't have to work. It should be a fun event." Evan encouraged her hopefully. "Don't a woman, Evan. She has other plans," Blaine said somewhat hoarsely. Zoe suddenly stood up and avoided Evan and Blaine's eyes. "Excuse me, I have to step out for a moment." Zoe quickly walked out of the room. She looked around for the ladies' room but didn't see it. Another door led into some sort of storage room. Zoe quickly took refuge inside. She didn't care where she was at that moment, as long as it wasn't with Blaine inside that suffocating dining room. Zoe closed the door to the small storage room, which thankfully blocked out all the noise outside. Even with her eyes closed, she could feel stray tears escaping onto her lashes. However, she stubbornly refused to let them fall. Memories of their past suddenly surged through Zoe like a ferocious beast, biting into her chest and making her tears fall uncontrollably. In college, when Zoe had pursued Blaine, she'd had fierce competition in the form of another co-ed named Madison. Madison was just like Blaine, gentle and elegant, beautiful and generous, and, of course, wealthy with the right kind of family. Zoe had been very jealous of Madison. One night in college, her friends had all gone out to a bar to celebrate another friend's birthday. Zoe was there, Blaine was there, and, of course, since Blaine was there, Madison was also there. Madison walked into the room and sat beside Blaine as if that was her rightful place. Their group began to play a variation of the game Truth or Dare, which they had nicknamed Truth or Drink. Instead of a dare, if someone didn't want to answer a question, they had to chug a beer. Unexpectedly, Zoe was chosen to ask the first question of Madison. "Truth or drink?" Zoe asked Madison indifferently. "Truth," Madison replied shyly. Zoe didn't hold back and, smirking, asked her straight out, "How many times have you cheated on Blaine?" Madison's face instantly paled when she heard Zoe's straightforward question. "Let bygones be bygones. Let's not talk about it anymore. I concede. I'll drink," she said. Zoe threw up her hands, telling her, "Whatever." Without another word, Madison picked a beer up off the table and tried to chug it. Catching her breath, Madison sputtered an apology. "I'm sorry. I'm not used to drinking so much at once." Then, with an apologetic look on her face, Madison picked up her beer again. "That's enough." Suddenly, Blaine held Madison's hand. "You don't have to drink it, Madison. A silly game is not worth you choking yourself to death." Blaine spoke calmly when he soothed Madison. Zoe felt a sharp pain in her chest. The more he defended Madison, the more unwilling Zoe was to admit defeat. Her delicate eyebrows slightly raised as she said to Blaine snidely, "What? You can't bear to part with her?" Blaine didn't answer Zoe's question. Instead, he picked up his beer. "I'll drink for her." Then he started chugging the beer. For a moment, everyone in the room fell silent again. Zoe looked at Blaine, who was so admirably defending Madison, and she was in so much pain that her nose ached and her eyes reddened as Zoe fought back her tears. Suddenly, Zoe stood up and grabbed the beer out of Blaine's hand. "Blaine, what right do you have to drink the beer for her? Who are you to Madison?" She interrogated him sternly. Zoe was infuriated when she felt some of her tears escaping. "You can't bear to let her drink it, can you?" Zoe's tears ran down her cheeks. "But then I am as much of a fool as you are, Blaine, because I'm reluctant to let you drink it for her." Zoe then closed her eyes and chugged down the beer. The beer burned her chest. It hurt so much, but she didn't care. Blaine grabbed the glass out of Zoe's hand and sent it crashing to the floor. "Zoe, stop it. Do you think that just because you love me, I have to like you? To have love, you need two people. If there were 100 steps in love, then even if you took all 99 steps, it still wouldn't be love if I refused to take the last step for you. Do you understand?" He paused as they stared at each other. "Do you think that just because you love me, I have to like you? To have love, you need two people. If there were 100 steps in love, then even if you took all 99 steps, it still wouldn't be love if I refused to take the last step for you. Do you understand?" Memories of the past stabbed into Zoe's chest like 1,000 needles. It was so painful that it almost suffocated her. The next day, Zoe kept herself busy with work from morning to night. She didn't even take breaks, but spent the whole day measuring, drawing, and sourcing supplies. Zoe did not give herself a single chance to catch her breath the whole day and into the night. She feared if she did and let herself think of Blaine's wedding, her heartbreak would swallow her whole. As she fell in bed that night back at her hotel, Zoe had no idea how she managed to survive her time in Scottsdale. Zoe didn't know anything about his wedding, but from his conversation with Evan last night, she knew it would be a happy and lively wedding. The celebration would probably continue long into the night. He's married. Zoe felt as if a huge part of her had died today. It was over. They were over. The next morning, Zoe took a taxi alone to the bus station. She was heading back before the rest of the design team, who were staying in town for a few more days. What a coincidence. Suddenly, the sound of a low and deep voice came from Zoe's side. Zoe turned her head in astonishment and saw Blaine standing beside her with his hands in his pockets. It was unknown whether it was because he was now married or because of something else, but Blaine seemed to be in an exceptionally good mood. His normally cold lips even seemed to carry the hint of a smile. Zoe's mind was in upheaval, and her heart was filled with an obvious sense of unease. She politely smirked and said, "Why are you here?" Blaine raised his eyebrows. "Weekend's over. I'm heading back." Zoe looked at Blaine with a puzzled expression. "I'll drive. Let's go together." As he spoke, Blaine pulled Zoe's suitcase and started walking towards the parking lot. "No need." Zoe hurried to catch up with him. "I haven't had much rest. You can keep me company and make sure I don't fall asleep." Blaine added, "Where's Sophia? Why can't she keep you company? Aren't you going back together?" she asked. She was busy taking care of the aftermath and couldn't leave for a while. Blaine opened the trunk and stuffed her suitcase inside. She rushed over to stop him, but the lid of the trunk was slammed shut and locked by him before she reached his side. "You're not getting in the car?" Blaine raised his eyebrows. Could she not get into the car? Zoe pondered. "Zoe, get in the car or I'm leaving you," Blaine called out the window. As Blaine had known it would, this worked, and Zoe quickly opened the door and got into the car, still sputtering and complaining the whole time. Zoe decided that in protest, she wasn't going to say another word to Blaine the whole way home. However, even her stubborn silence didn't seem to impact Blaine's good mood. Ugh, so this was what a happily married Blaine looked like. Zoe's heart hurt. Zoe didn't expect him to act like this. However, Blaine didn't seem to care at all. Zoe, on the other hand, was completely thrown off by this light-hearted side of Blaine, and her heart was instantly filled with sorrow. When they reached Phoenix, Blaine turned towards the city center and asked, "Where are you headed, Zoe? I have to work, but I'll drop you off first." "I'm going to the hospital, too." Zoe couldn't wait to see her son. The moment the car drove into the hospital parking lot, Blaine got out of the car to help Zoe with her suitcase. "Dr. Dexter, happy wedding! Congratulations!" Ramona shouted sweetly. "Dr. Dexter, congrats! How does it feel to be a married man?" Jose smiled ambiguously and hooked his arm over Blaine's shoulder. "Where's your new bride hiding?" He stuck his head out and looked towards the front passenger seat. "Sophia, hurry up and get out of the car! Why are you being shy?" Jose was speechless when he saw Zoe getting out of the car. "Zoe!" Ramona shouted in embarrassment, elbowing Jose in the side to shut his mouth, which was hanging open in shock. Blaine just stood there, happily gloating. "Blaine, looking at you in such high spirits, I can see that you are now a very happily married man. I can tell you had a good time this weekend," David called out as he approached. When David saw Zoe standing beside Blaine, He was as speechless as Jose had been. Recovering after a moment, David stopped beside them. So it's like this, huh? Wow, the life of a newlywed is sure interesting. Blaine cocked his mouth in a small smile and asked lightly, "If I'm not married, can I still be considered to be living the life of a newlywed?" Blaine's words stunned everyone, especially Zoe. All of his coworkers began to bombard Blaine with questions. "What do you mean not married?" Jose asked, stunned. I'm not married." Blaine answered them with certainty. Blaine wasn't married. The words exploded inside Zoe's mind like a bomb. Her heart seemed to stop and race all at the same time. Yesterday morning, Sophia's grandfather had a heart attack before the wedding even happened. The wedding's been postponed for 3 months to give Sophia's family a chance to grieve. Zoe would be lying if she said she didn't have a trace of joy in her heart when she heard this news. Sure enough, love is selfish. "My shift is starting, so I'll leave you here." Blaine left without looking back. Watching him leave, Zoe suddenly felt that the day had become a bit sunnier. Zoe wheeled her suitcase as she headed upstairs to see Max. When Luna saw her approaching, she quickly stood up. "Zoe, it's great that you're back. I was just about to call you." Zoe's heart sank when she saw Luna's anxious look. "What's wrong? Has something happened?" she asked in alarm. "Zoe, it's okay. Don't be scared. But Max is not in his room. He's been taken to the ER because of complications." Luna's words caused Zoe to halt her steps abruptly. Taking a deep breath, she held back the tears in her eyes and hurried toward the emergency room. Her heart was beating so fast. No one knew how dark it was to live every day in fear. She tried her best every day, but her best wasn't helping Max. Zoe spent the rest of the day in a daze. Sitting on a chair outside the ICU, Zoe repeatedly reminded herself to stay strong. "Zoe!" Matthew walked out of the ICU. Zoe rushed over to him. "How is he?" Matthew gestured for Zoe to sit down as he took off his mask and held it in his hand. "Max is pretty good. It's not as serious as we thought." His voice was hoarse to the point where it sounded harsh. Then he grabbed Zoe's ice-cold hand and held it in his warm, big one. Zoe, if you don't need to in the future, don't go on any more business trips. I've missed you so much these past few days." "I'm sorry." Zoe burst into tears the moment she heard this. Tears gushed out of her eyes. "This situation will never happen again. I won't ever leave Max again. I'll always stay by his side." Matthew gripped Zoe's hand tighter and tighter. Zoe was stunned and her face paled. "Matthew, your words, do you mean?" Zoe couldn't get the words out, but she didn't need to. She could see from the look on Matthew's face that she needed to stay close because Max may not have much time left. Zoe began sobbing. As a mother, she couldn't say the words aloud. Matthew pursed his lips and didn't say anything. He knew that Zoe had understood what he was trying to tell her. Zoe shook her head as tears streamed down her cheeks. She did not dare to imagine what her life would be like without Max. She couldn't imagine never hearing him call her mommy again. "Matthew, is there anything else I can do for him? I don't want him to leave. I can't let him leave." Zoe was begging like a child for a new toy, but she knew Matthew couldn't magically solve Max's illness. Matthew let out a long sigh, hesitated for a while, then said, "Zoe, we've been waiting a long time for a blood marrow donor and we still haven't found a suitable match. This no longer seems like a viable solution, the waiting and hoping." As Matthew said this, he pursed his lips with difficulty. "Actually, there's still a way, it's just that..." His eyes dimmed. "Speak! Matthew, no matter what it is, I'm willing to let go and give it a try." Zoe was so excited that tears welled up in her eyes. "Have a baby." Matthew took a deep breath, looked at Zoe, and continued, "The only way is to have a child with Blaine. A sibling's umbilical cord blood has a 25% chance of matching, while the success rate between other relatives is only 1 in 100,000. Zoe was shocked by Matthew's idea. She looked at Matthew, who had a serious expression on his face. "Matthew, don't joke with me." Zoe, you know I wouldn't joke with you about something like this. Zoe's thoughts were a jumbled mess. How would this ever work? To have another child? With Blaine? That was not something that could be done easily. The relationship between the two of them was already very complicated. Blaine didn't even know about Max, and for good reason. Max had been threatened the moment he was born. How would this child be any different? Zoe shook her head. Just thinking about it made her somewhat afraid. She did not approve of this decision. For a child, it was selfish. For her, it was difficult. But for Blaine, it was even more harmful. Matthew held Zoe's cold hand and said, "Don't make a decision yet. Think about it seriously. But..." At this point, he pursed his lips. "If you decide, then the sooner the better." Zoe nodded with difficulty. "All right, I'll think about it." Her heavy heart instantly became chaotic. Blaine was sitting at his laptop typing up a research paper when the door to his office was pushed open. He saw Sophia gracefully walking in from the outside on crystal high heels as she greeted him. "Hello, Blaine." Blaine looked up at her in surprise. "Why are you here? Aren't you going to work?" he asked. "Yes, I just had some free time, so I came to visit you." Sophia sat down beside Blaine. "I didn't disturb you, did I?" Blaine pushed back his laptop, turned around to look at her, and smiled. "What, you just came here to look for me?" "Right." Sophia arched her brows and smiled sweetly. "I want you to accompany me on a picnic tomorrow, okay?" "A picnic?" Blaine said without enthusiasm. "Yes, it's been a long time since we went out on a date. Even though we haven't gotten married yet, shouldn't you make it up to me?" He could see the grievance on Sophia's face and felt a bit guilty. Blaine hadn't been thinking about his fiancée since arriving home from Scottsdale. All of Blaine's thoughts were of Zoe. Their connection was undeniable, but she was married and Blaine had a fiancé. What was he thinking? "Blaine, what are you thinking about?" Sophia saw that Blaine was lost in thought and her cheeks blushed. Blaine came back to his senses and smiled. "You said you wanted to go on a picnic?" "Yes, getting outside for some fresh air sounds delightful. We can barbecue and go for a hike. Doesn't that sound fun?" Sophia's face was filled with anticipation. "All right, then we'll go." Blaine agreed. "Great, then I won't bother you any longer. I'm meeting a friend for dinner, but I'll call you later with the details." After Sophia left, Blaine sat at his desk, staring into the now dark screen of his laptop for a long time, lost in thought. He'd realized that his emotional life was a mess. The status quo couldn't continue. It wasn't fair to anyone. Blaine sighed as he finally shut his laptop and stood up. He'd made a decision. It was time for Blaine to sort out his love life once and for all. After successfully convincing Blaine to go on a picnic with her the next day, Sophia quickly left his office before he could change his mind. Sophia had told him that she was on her way to meet a friend for dinner. However, she didn't tell Blaine that that friend was Zoe's sister, Ziva. Now sitting across from Ziva at dinner, Sophia put the next stage of her plan into action. "Ziva, I'm going on a picnic tomorrow. Do you want to come too?" Sophia asked Ziva innocently. Ziva looked at Sophia, a little disinterested. At first, Ziva didn't like Sophia because she was Blaine's fiancée. But after spending more time with her, Ziva had actually come to think of Sophia as a friend. Still, Ziva wasn't really the outdoorsy type and didn't really relish the idea of a day in the great outdoors. Trying to think of a way out of it, Ziva asked Sophia casually, "Who are you going with?" "It's just me and Blaine," Sophia said nonchalantly before taking a sip of her drink. Ziva was stunned. "Is Dr. Dexter going too?" "Is it strange that he's going? He is my fiancé," Sophia asked, looking at her with a smile. Friends or not, Ziva still considered Blaine fair game and wasn't stopping her pursuit of Dr. Dexter just because she was friends with Sophia. Still, Ziva couldn't help but be suspicious of the invitation. "Why are you inviting me to go with the two of you? You're not going to use this picnic as an opportunity to rub your relationship in my face, are you?" Sophia giggled. "Just tell me if you want to go or not, Ziva." "Oh, I definitely want to go. Just remember, you invited me, Sophia, after I steal him away from you," Ziva told her smugly. Sophia smiled gently. I have faith in him. All right then it's a date. May the best woman win, which is, of course, me, Ziva told her. She was excited by this unexpected opportunity to get closer to Blaine. Hey, why don't you invite Zoe as well? Sophia suddenly suggested. My sister? Ziva hesitated. Why would you suddenly think of inviting her? Sophia smiled. Blaine and I have become rather close with her since she's been working on our house. Besides, Zoe might want to fight for Blaine herself. Ziva laughed. My sister will definitely not be fighting with us over Dr. Dexter, but I can mobilize my sister to work on my behalf. Zoe has been working so hard recently, she could really use a day out. Okay, I'll ask her later. Great, this is going to be fun. I can't help but think this will be a picnic none of us ever forget, Sophia said sweetly. Ziva didn't notice the darker gleam in the other woman's eyes. When Ziva had invited Zoe on a picnic with friends the night before, Zoe had originally declined. Zoe had no desire to go, but after over an hour of Ziva's pestering, not to mention a huge guilt trip of how Zoe never spent any time with her little sister, Zoe had finally relented. Now, as Zoe put her car in park in front of the forest service station, she was deeply regretting her decision to attend. But even more than that, Zoe deeply regretted not asking Ziva which friends would be attending this picnic when she saw Sophia and Blaine standing outside the building chatting. Sophia turned and hissed at her sister. What are Sophia and Blaine doing here, Ziva? When Blaine saw Ziva getting out of the car, he was understandably surprised. But when a reluctant Zoe got out of the car after her, Blaine was momentarily speechless. It was obvious that Blaine wasn't happy that Zoe and Ziva were there. Finally, after half an hour, everything was ready, including the grill. All that they needed now was the firewood. I'll go gather some firewood, Blaine offered. Sophia rushed to catch up with him. Blaine, I'll go with you. Ziva was unhappy. Watching them leave, Zoe didn't say anything, but just went back to quietly adding meat and vegetable to the barbecue skewers. While Ziva complained back at their picnic site, Sophia seemed to be in an especially good mood as she walked with Blaine. She happily chatted alongside him as Blaine collected firewood. Blaine looked around. All of this wood is too wet to burn. Why don't we go look over there? He frowned as he spoke, sweat beading on his forehead. Blaine, are you all right? Sophia looked at him worriedly. I'm fine. Blaine shook his head. I suddenly feel a little hot. He took off his windbreaker, leaving behind only a thin white t-shirt that showed traces of sweat. You should leave on your jacket. You don't want to catch a cold, Sophia reminded him. It's fine, let's go. Blaine walked with Sophia deeper into the woods. He walked in front while Sophia followed behind. However, they had only taken a few steps when they suddenly felt the ground underneath them give way. Sophia screamed in shock as the two of them fell into a deep hole without any warning. Sophia was so scared that she began to cry. She threw herself headfirst into Blaine's warm embrace. Blaine, I'm afraid. What is this? What did we fall into? Don't be scared. This is just a normal hunting trap, Blaine said calmly, then looked around and confirmed. There should be people coming to save us soon. Blaine ignored her and went to the side of the hole to check for exits. There was no longer any doubt in Blaine's mind. He was a doctor, after all. All of his symptoms pointed to only one logical explanation. He'd been drugged. Someone on this picnic had spiked Blaine's drink. Blaine looked up. The depth of the trap was about 3 meters, and the edges were smooth. It would be impossible to climb up the sides by hand. They'd have to call for help. Blaine felt his pockets, but realized he didn't have his phone. Back at the picnic site, Zoe and Ziva began to worry. Sophia and Blaine had left a long time ago to gather firewood, but still hadn't returned. Give them a call, Zoe suggested. Ziva took out her cell phone and dialed Sophia's number, but her phone was turned off. In the next moment, they heard a phone ring. Looking down, Ziva saw Blaine's phone on the table by the grill. Zoe frowned. He didn't take his phone with him. It had been over an hour, so she hoped that nothing had happened to him. Ziva, wait for me here. I'll go look for them. Inside the trap, Blaine was becoming increasingly uncomfortable. Whatever had been slipped into his drink must have been aphrodisiac. Who would do such a thing? It had to have been someone on the picnic. Above the trap, Sophia's excited cry was what had drawn Zoe's attention to the large hole in the ground. "Zoe!" Suddenly, a deep voice called out to her. "Are you going to just sit there all day, or are you going to help us?" He shouted. "Hurry up and get someone to pull us up." Zoe said innocently, "Don't worry, I'll call the police right away. But Sophia, why did you turn off your phone? I called for a long time but couldn't get through. Ziva said that your phone still had a full charge when she saw it this morning. I guess you two just wanted to be alone for a while before you called us. Sorry I interrupted." Seeing the increasingly pale face of Sophia, the smile on Zoe's face grew even wider as she spoke. Blaine looked up at the smirk on Zoe's face. He realized that now that Zoe was here, his head was clear and he felt much calmer. The antidote to cure the false effects of an aphrodisiac was the power of true love. The police arrived quickly to rescue Blaine and Sophia from the deep hunter's trap. Blaine helped Sophia tie the rope around her waist, and then the rescuers began to pull her up. Zoe didn't hesitate. She stretched out her hand in an attempt to reach Sophia and pull her over the edge to safety. As Zoe was shouting at her, Sophia reached up and grasped Zoe's outstretched hand. Suddenly, Zoe felt a sharp pain in her palm. It hurt so much that Zoe didn't even have time to think before she reflexively opened her hand. It wasn't until half a second after Zoe retracted her hand that she realized what had happened. "Sophia, no!" Zoe screamed in fright. The deafening sound of something hitting the ground caused Zoe's eyes to go blurry as they instantly filled with tears. "Miss, why did you let go of her hand?" One of the police officers asked Zoe with a dark expression. Zoe shook her head, crying hysterically. "I didn't do it on purpose, I swear it. It was not intentional." The officer looked surprised. "Miss, how can you say it was not intentional? I saw you let go of her hand with my own eyes. Why did you want to hurt this woman? What do you have against her? I'm going to need you to come with me down to the police station for questioning." From deep in the trap, Blaine shouted angrily up to the police. "Somebody call an ambulance. What are you waiting for? This woman's injuries are severe. She has serious head trauma and we need to get her to the hospital right away." Zoe's mind went blank for a moment when she heard what Blaine said. She took 2 steps back in panic as tears gushed uncontrollably out of her eyes. She really didn't do it on purpose. It was clear that something had stabbed into her palm, causing her to let go reflexively. As Zoe thought of this, she opened up her hand. There was a needle-sized hole in the center of her palm, and blood was still seeping out. What had she been stabbed with? How did it manage to stab her? The only possibility was that it was in Sophia's hand already when she reached out and asked Zoe to help her. Zoe suddenly felt dizzy as she remembered seeing Sophia untie the rope around her waist right before reaching for Zoe's hand. She felt herself break out into a cold sweat as shivers ran down her spine, and the hairs on the back of Zoe's neck stood on end. Sophia had done this on purpose. "Miss Fuller, we're going to need you to come with us back to the station. You can give whatever statement you come up with at that time, but with so many police witnesses, I encourage you to acknowledge your crime. Now, get in the car." The policeman didn't want to hear what Zoe had to say and signaled for her to get in the squad car. Zoe couldn't help but look at Blaine as he brushed past her before hurrying to the ambulance alongside Sophia. He looked extremely worried. Perhaps he would think this was an act of jealousy because Zoe had witnessed the intimacy between him and Sophia. Zoe closed her eyes. She didn't know if she had ever felt as lonely as she did at this moment. Zoe had been in the police station for hours. They obviously had no intention of letting her go. The officer who had been interrogating her stepped back into the room after taking a call. He sat down and told her sternly, "Miss Fuller, I just received a call from the hospital. Miss Quincy's injuries are serious, and she is in critical condition. Let me tell you, you better pray that she makes it through this. If anything happens to her, prepare to spend the rest of your life in prison." "I repeat, I didn't mean to hurt her." As Zoe spoke, her pale lips were trembling violently. Zoe was growing suspicious of these policemen. They seemed so ready to accuse her versus doing their jobs and investigating. "Can't you see the wound in my palm? Why don't you investigate this matter? Isn't that your job?" Zoe asked in frustration. The policeman impatiently put down his pen. Miss Fuller, no matter how the wound on your hand came about, we have witnesses who saw you let go of Miss Quincy's hand. I'd advise you to admit your guilt. I'm not guilty. Why should I admit anything? I will not plead guilty to something I didn't do. You need to get off your do your jobs and investigate. Zoe was angry. Zoe's temper enraged the policeman. He wouldn't let this woman tell him how to do his job. You better watch your mouth. Treat me with respect when you speak to me. You're already in enough trouble. Zoe felt extremely wronged. She kicked the table in anger and frustration. Tears of grievance poured out of her. Let me tell you, you'd better not let me out. The first thing I will do when I get out of here is file a lawsuit. This is police misconduct and discrimination. I demand to see a lawyer right now. I am entitled to legal counsel under the law. Or wait, is that another one of those pesky laws you're going to conveniently ignore? The officer hissed at Zoe angrily. We're done here. Maybe some time in lockup will change your mind and you'll admit your crimes. He then stood up. Guard, please escort Miss Fuller to a cell. Zoe had no idea how long she'd been locked up in the dingy cell. She had lost all track of time. In the night, Zoe shivered with cold. The paper-thin blanket on the prison cot was useless. She'd finally been offered something to eat, but her stomach was so upset from the stress she couldn't even take a bite. Not that the ham sandwich looked appealing anyway. Just as Zoe was beginning to give up all hope, the door to her jail cell was suddenly open. Zoe raised her head to look at the officer standing there. She hadn't seen this particular policeman before. She could barely believe the words coming from the officer's mouth. Please come with me, Miss Fuller. You're being released. Zoe was beginning to give up all hope. The door to her jail cell was suddenly open. Zoe raised her head to look at the officer standing there. She hadn't seen this particular policeman before. She could barely believe the words coming from the officer's mouth. Please come with me, Miss Fuller. You're being released. When she entered the lobby and saw Blaine standing there, Blaine's heart hurt as he took in the sight of her. Her clothes were rumpled and her hair hung in a messy curtain around her face, and Zoe's face appeared red and puffy. As he examined her face, Blaine's gray eyes grew darker and he frowned. Who did this? He asked Zoe. The fear in Zoe's eyes made Blaine's anger turn into fury. The desk sergeant was shocked, and his voice trembled when he answered. Dr. Dexter, that would be Officer Grissom, but he's not on duty today. I'll call him right now. Dr. Dexter, please wait a moment. Not bothering to answer the man, Blaine turned back and once again his gaze focused on Zoe's injured face. Suddenly, Zoe remembered something and pulled back into Blaine's embrace. Looking up nervously, she asked him, Sophia, how is she doing? She's in critical condition. Blaine answered truthfully with a hint of worry in his eyes. She has severe head trauma and has fallen into a coma. She's relying on a ventilator to breathe. Officer Grissom is here. The desk sergeant announced from where he'd been anxiously watching the parking lot. Officer Grissom was startled when he saw Zoe, but soon after, his eyes widened as he furiously shouted, Who let this woman out? Didn't I say to keep her in lockup until she pleads guilty, huh? When Blaine saw Officer Grissom's hostile attitude towards Zoe, he walked over and without a word, punched him in the face. Officer Grissom was taken aback by the sudden punch as he clutched his nose and stared at Blaine. How does it feel to take a punch from someone bigger, stronger, and more powerful than you? Blaine asked coldly, his dark eyes shooting out a frightening light. Officer Grissom swallowed nervously and glanced at Zoe. After a long time, he finally looked at Zoe again and reluctantly said, I'm sorry. Officer Grissom, hold out your hand. Blaine ordered firmly. Blaine opened his hand. There was a brooch in his hand. Blaine threw it on the desk counter and coldly said, Officer Grissom, since you neglected to do your job, I have done it for you. I found this brooch on the floor of the hunter's trap. There are obvious traces of blood on the brooch. You can take it and examine it to see if the blood on it matches Miss Fuller's, but I can guarantee you it will. Grissom's face turned completely pale. Blaine led Zoe out of the police station. Blaine, thank you. Thank you for being the only one who believes in me. Zoe cried even harder after she finished her sentence. I should have suspected you like everyone else. Even I saw you let go of Sophia's hand, but I just didn't believe it. I don't believe you are that kind of person." Blaine's words managed to draw a fresh batch of tears out of Zoe. "Zoe?" he suddenly said. His voice was gentle. "Yes?" she replied in a choked whisper. "About you and me." Blaine's voice was rough and contained a bit of pain. Finally, he lowered his head and looked Zoe in the eyes. "Does Matthew know?" Zoe was stunned by his question. He paused before continuing. "Zoe, I don't want to become someone who doesn't care about other people's feelings because of you. If we continue, then I'm no better than you and Matthew 4 years ago. The positions are reversed, but no less wrong." The words made her heart hurt. How she wanted to tell him that they shared a lovely child between them. However, she couldn't say anything. Blaine looked away from her, back up at the night sky. "If you and Matthew are happy, you will have a good life. As for me, I will do my best to wish you happiness." Zoe's tears flowed without restraint. She nodded heavily. "I also wish you and her endless happiness." Thus the two fell into a long silence. Zoe brought flowers to Sophia. She was in the VIP room of the hospital, but it seemed strangely empty. Sophia was still in critical condition. "Sophia, I don't know if you can hear what I'm going to say, but I hope you can." Zoe paused and took a deep breath before continuing. "First of all, I want to say I sincerely apologize. I'm really very sorry. Also, about what happened in the cave that day?" Zoe lowered her eyebrows. "I hope that it was really an accident and not something you planned with utmost care." A few minutes later, Zoe walked out of Sophia's room. Unbeknownst to her, Sophia had finally opened her dull eyes with much difficulty. Her hatred for Zoe had given her strength, and her hands placed on either side of her body began to tremble as she attempted to lift them. Hatred poured out of her eyes. Zoe was still entangled with her fiancé. As soon as Zoe walked into her room, Sophia immediately began formulating another plan. The sound of an emergency call for help resounded throughout the VIP hallway. Sophia's private nurse, Melinda, raced into Sophia's hospital room in a panic. "Heavens, doctor, help! Miss Quincy needs help!" Melinda shouted into the hallway from the doorway of Sophia's room. "Someone pulled out Miss Quincy's ventilator! Come quick!" Zoe had been waiting for the elevator to leave when she heard the emergency alarm go off. She turned her head abruptly and looked at the nurse standing in the doorway of Sophia's room. The nurse was also staring at Zoe. Before Zoe could regain her senses, the nurse suddenly rushed towards her, grabbed her by the hair, and pushed Zoe up against the wall. "It was you! I saw you leaving my Mrs. room! You're the one who pulled out her ventilator! Why are you trying to hurt her?" Zoe was startled and frightened by this sudden turn of events. "Let go of me! Let go of my hair! It hurts!" Why did these things keep happening to Zoe? Zoe screamed hysterically, and despite her best effort, some tears slipped out. As soon as Zoe finished her hysterical tirade, the nurse suddenly shouted at someone behind Zoe, "Dr. Dexter!" With red eyes, Zoe turned around in a daze and saw Blaine in his white coat. His gaze lightly fell on Zoe, who was in a sorry state. He looked cold and indifferent. "Melinda, from now on, don't let this woman near Miss Quincy," Blaine said indifferently. There was no other expression on his face. Blaine ordered Zoe sternly, "Stay away from Sophia in the future. The further, the better." With that, he walked into Sophia's room without looking back. Blaine trusted Zoe, which is why he wanted her to stay away from Sophia. It was the best way to protect her from further false accusations. Whether Zoe realized this or not was okay with Blaine, as long as she was safe. Over the weekend, Max's mournful wails echoed through his hospital room and Zoe's heart. She held his small body tightly in her soft embrace. "It hurts, Mommy, it hurts so much. Mommy, make it stop!" Max was screaming at the top of his lungs. His mournful wails were like hundreds of knives stabbing at Zoe's heart. Even though it would hurt many people, Zoe would do what she had to do to save her child. So as she clutched her screaming son, Zoe steeled her heart and made a decision. Blaine buzzed Zoe into his building. "You have something to talk to me about?" Blaine asked. Zoe licked her lips nervously, her mouth suddenly bone dry. She mustered the courage to speak with difficulty. Let me be your mistress. Zoe's words made Blaine's eyes narrow, and he immediately stared at Zoe as if he was looking at a monster. Blaine's dark eyes seemed to darken the longer she remained silent. A mistress? Zoe bit her lips. Her chest felt tight as if something was squeezing it too hard, making it difficult for her to breathe. Then she found herself nodding as she replied, Yes. Blaine shook his head and chuckled carelessly. Stop teasing me. You must think I'm a fool. Zoe's face paled. Blaine's harsh assessment hit her like a physical blow. Explain yourself, Zoe. What do you want from me? Zoe stared at him for a long time. Finally, she whispered, Money. Zoe took a deep breath and then mustered up her courage. She repeated herself, louder this time. I want money. Zoe clearly saw Blaine's eyebrows jump at her words. Say that again. Blaine ordered through gritted teeth as he looked down at Zoe. Blaine seemed like a ferocious beast about to attack, and Zoe suppressed a shiver. Zoe bit her lips in silence. Blaine's voice suddenly rose a few decibels. Blaine asked Zoe harshly, Where's Matthew? At the hospital. Zoe knew why Blaine was asking this, but she could only try to change the subject. Blaine glared at her fiercely, his voice rising. Call him. Blaine took his cell phone out of his pocket and dropped it at Zoe's feet. Call him. Zoe had never seen Blaine this angry before. She knew if Matthew were here right now, Blaine wouldn't hesitate to punch him. With a pale face, Zoe refused to move. We're divorced. It's been a long time. Zoe licked her lips and added, It's been many years. Blaine didn't know what to think when he heard Zoe's words. How much? He asked Zoe. Zoe blinked, stunned. How much do you need for your relative's treatments? Blaine repeated patiently. Zoe took a deep breath and licked her lips. Blaine, my offer still stands. I hope you will consider it again. After 2 weeks in the hospital, Sophia was finally improving. Blaine had his hands in the pockets of his white coat when he entered Sophia's room. Finally, Blaine spoke. Sophia, now that you are feeling better, I think it's time you and I talked. Blaine's voice was cold as he informed Sophia they needed to talk. Blaine, what do you want to talk about? She asked, trying to hide her anxiety. I want to talk about what happened at the picnic, inviting the Fuller sisters, drugging and cornering me in the trap, stabbing Zoe's hand with a brooch so she'd be blamed for your fall and thrown in jail. Sounds familiar, Sophia? Are you sure Zoe didn't plot these things? Sophia yelled at his back, unwilling to give up. Blaine looked back at Sophia calmly. There's not a doubt in my mind that she had nothing to do with this, because a woman as proud as Zoe would never betray her soul for a man. Sophia took in a deep breath. Blaine, if you really love Zoe that much, I can ask your mother to break off our engagement. You know, I'm not that kind of person. Blaine looked at Sophia's gentle smile, and the color in his eyes deepened. All he said was, Rest well. Sophia! At that moment, Ziva walked in and immediately saw Blaine, who was about to leave, and said, Dr. Dexter, hello! She greeted him as her eyes lit up. Blaine didn't bother to answer her. You guys go ahead and chat. I'll be leaving now. Blaine! Sophia called out to him again. Would you mind taking Ziva home? She has a stack of fashion magazines she wants to lend me to pass the time. You can bring them back to me when you return to the hospital. There's still half an hour before I get off work. I'll come to find you when I'm done. Blaine looked at Ziva as he said this. Then he turned around and walked out of the room. A half hour later, Blaine left with Ziva to drive her home. Along the way, Blaine remained silent. He only focused on driving, but Ziva hadn't stopped talking since they'd met up. After all, being alone with Blaine was too good an opportunity to pass up. Seeing that they were almost home, Ziva became a little anxious. Just as Ziva was getting anxious, surprisingly, it was Blaine who asked her a question. Is one of your family members sick? His sudden question stunned Ziva for a moment. She nodded hesitantly. It's my... Ziva was interrupted by her ringing phone. She apologetically smiled and said, Just a minute, let me take this call. Ziva, are you going to be home soon? Zoe asked her over the phone. I'm almost there. See you in a minute, sis. Ziva hung up the phone and turned around to look at Blaine. Dr. Dexter, do you want to come over to our place for dinner? It's time for dinner, isn't it? Blaine already knew this, of course. Zoe's excellent culinary skills tempted him. Ziva was shocked when Blaine simply said, "All right." When Blaine walked in her front door, Zoe froze in shock. Blaine was dressed casually in a sweater and dark jeans, but his tall, refined presence seemed to clash with his simple surroundings. "Good evening, Mrs. Fuller." "Ziva, who is your guest? Come in and have a seat." "Mom, this is Dr. Blaine Dexter. Dr. Dexter, this is my mother, Gloria Fuller." Ziva happily introduced them. "Mom?" Seeing Gloria staring at Blaine in a daze, Ziva couldn't help but laugh. "Mom, don't stare at him, it's so rude." Gloria came back to her senses. She smiled with some uneasiness as she nodded in agreement. Yes, sorry. Come, let's sit down. Dr. Dexter, right?" Gloria called Blaine into the dining room. Zoe followed silently. "Please, call me Blaine," he told her politely. The four of them took their places at the dining room table. Zoe sat silently eating while Ziva kept up a constant stream of chatter. "Dr. Dexter, have you tried a bite of the lasagna yet? My sister makes it from scratch. It's really delicious." Gloria looked at Blaine across the table. "Tell me about yourself, Dr. Dexter. What is your family background?" "Mom?" Ziva pushed her mother's arm. "What are you doing? You sound like you're interrogating him." This time, Gloria ignored Ziva. With a stern face, she pushed Ziva's hand away unhappily and scolded. "What harm is there in asking the man about his family?" "My father is a government official," Blaine diplomatically replied. "A government official? Mom, his father is Senator Michael Dexter of Arizona," Ziva quickly elaborated. "Dr. Dexter, no need to be so modest." Gloria stiffened when she heard Ziva's words. "Your father is Senator Dexter? Dr. Dexter is indeed from an influential and wealthy family. I'm surprised to find you at our humble table." Blaine didn't expect Gloria to say such a thing. He frowned as he glanced at Zoe, who was sitting beside him. Ziva's face immediately changed. "Dr. Dexter isn't the kind of person who cares if people are rich or poor. If he was, he wouldn't have come home to eat with me today." Gloria seemed to be angry, and her voice rose a few decibels. "Don't mind me. I can be such a straightforward person. From now on, you don't have to interact with my Ziva anymore. Our family situation is clearly not compatible with yours." "Mom!" Ziva threw down her napkin as her eyes turned red. "How can you say such a thing? I finally managed to get on better terms with Dr. Dexter, and you're already pulling me back. How can you do this to me?" Ziva's eyes teared up after she shouted. After she finished speaking, she rushed into her room while crying. The already tattered door was now making creaking sounds as it was thrown shut by her. "Mom, I'll go check on her." Zoe was about to leave when she was stopped by Gloria. "Sit down." Gloria slapped the table with her hand. Zoe's eyes widened in surprise. "Mrs. Fuller, thank you for dinner. Sorry to have bothered you this evening." Blaine was shocked by Gloria's actions. "It's not worth it to hurt the relationship between you and your daughter over me." "I'm leaving. I'll just walk myself out." Blaine looked at Gloria and frowned. Obviously, coming here tonight had been a mistake, but not for any reason he might have expected. Zoe escorted Blaine outside to his car. "Does your mother discriminate against all rich people or just the ones with political connections?" Blaine couldn't help but ask Zoe. Zoe was confused by her mother's reaction. She shook her head and said, "No, I've never seen her act this way before. I honestly don't know what's gotten into her tonight." "Go inside." Blaine gestured toward her house. Zoe nodded and looked at him, her blue eyes soft with unspoken emotion. Before she habitually reminded him, "Drive carefully on the road." "I will." A faint glimmer appeared in Blaine's eyes. It was clearly a hint of happiness. "Bye." Zoe waved her hand at him, a faint unwillingness to part in her eyes. She turned and headed inside.
Hi, Zoe here. If you are wondering what happens next, then download the Pocket FM app and listen to the exciting episodes of Rekindled Heartache now.